Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this My HR Toolkit training webinar. We're going to cover the Security Center today. My name's Simon. I'm the Sales and Support Team Leader for My HR Toolkit. I'm going to be taking you through the webinar today. I've got a colleague, Juliet, from our customer management team, a customer relationship team, who is going to help you out in the chat if you have any issues. She'll also help with the questions and answers that we can do at the end of the webinar. So if you do have any questions about the Security Center, or security in general for the toolkit, then just add them into the Q&A and we will answer those at the end. Now, if you have previously been attending our webinars, you will know that we have been doing a series of topical webinars as well, where we have guest speakers, and we do have another one of these coming up. Now, this is coming up tomorrow, and this is on managing redundancy during lockdown. We have a guest speaker called Emma Del Torto. She's a HR entrepreneur and former lawyer. She's worked with My HR Toolkit for quite a while, so we know her well. But it is at 10 o'clock tomorrow, 28th of May. And if you would like to register for that, then please just go to myhrtoolkit.com /webinars. You'll know that previously that we've actually emailed you this link, but we have this on the webpage now. So if you would like to register for that webinar, just go to that page. It's also where you can catch up with all of our previous topical webinars. So covering such things as recruitment, furloughing of staff, looking at childcare during lockdown, how to help SME leaders thrive, and then also mental health awareness. Now today, as mentioned, it's me, Simon. I'm going to take you through the Security Center, and what we're going to cover is, firstly, we're going to have a look at the Security Center access. How do you access the Security Center? We'll go into what the actual tools are available in that area. We're going to have a look at the enhanced security tools as well, because not only do we give you an area to monitor the security, we give you an area that you can enhance the security of your individual system. We'll have a quick look at the audit trail, round off with that, and then we're going to cover a couple of things outside of the security statement. The first one is outside the Security Center. The first one is the security statement. We'll have a look at the privacy policy. We'll also have a look at the status page that we have within the system as well. And then, of course, at the end, we will have time for questions. So let's go into the toolkit. Hopefully you can see my screen, and we are in the config area. And to access the Security Center, it's very simple. Just go to Security Center. Now, the Security Center, a little bit like holidays, are fairly unique in the fact that they're not really optional within the system. So the Security Center is not a place that you can either choose to use or not. It is something that you naturally have to use within the system. And as I highlight these features, you'll understand that a little more. But it basically is an area that is you can't turn this area off. So what do we have in the Security Center? So we've got a dashboard. The first thing you see on the left-hand side is the overall security score. Now, this is out of 100. However, we don't encourage you to try and reach 100, because that would mean that your system is completely locked down. It makes it very, very difficult to access from outside of your work networks, which again I'll explain shortly. But this is just giving you a little bit of information as to which of the enhanced security tools you are actually using with your company. Then we have our live users. So you will only see people in here who are live users, so between a start and an end date. So for each employee, you can see their username. So if an employee forgets their username, you don't have to reset that for them. You can see this here, so you can give that to them. Of course, if they forget their password, then you can reset that for them here. You can see a strength guide for how strong or how good an employee's password is, and you can see whether they're rated good, very good, excellent. As you can see here, these are all fairly high level passwords. And then we got our actions. So the first one is that you can reset someone's password. If I click reset password, you can see we get a little pop-up on the screen. It's just confirming that I'm going to reset the password for this specific employee, but then of course this email gets sent to me as a controller. So it doesn't get sent to the employee because of course the employee might not have access to their email, or they may be on a shared email, in which case they don't get any sensitive type emails like this, or it might be that actually that they're locked out of their toolkit. So this email is sent to you, you can forward that to them, and they can use that link to reset their password. They also see and have a chance to change their username. Now, as part of our enhanced security tools, we have the option to turn security questions on. I'm jumping to this because this is an option for resetting. So the security questions is something that employees can add when they log in. There's about 8 or 9 different questions that you can ask, and this is basically for password resets. So when an employee uses that link to reset their password, they can then answer some security questions, just another layer of security. Of course, if you have these turned on in the actions option, you do have the option to reset someone's security questions as well. Now, if somebody, and this case does come up, if somebody does forget their security questions and they've forgotten their password, there's 2 options. You can either turn security questions off for a moment while you reset their password, or what you can do is if you reset the security questions and then straight away reset the password and then use the link in the password email, the system will bypass the security questions while the employee is able to reset their password. Okay, so what other enhanced security tools do we have? So we've got a password builder. So the default minimum level of password is 8 characters, and it must have an upper and lowercase and a number. Now, of course, you can expand this. So if you want, you can turn this up to the max, which is 20 characters. You can also add special characters in here as well. So commas, ampersands, at signs, anything like that. Once you click save, this will then be the minimum level for your employees' passwords. You do sometimes have the option. So if somebody has a password that is below good or is not met your minimum standards, you'll get an extra button here that says enforce minimum strength. What that means, if you click that button, is anybody whose password doesn't meet this level will have to reset their password before they can log into the toolkit again. Now at the bottom we have allowed IP addresses, or IP restriction, IP whitelist, whatever you want to refer to this as. So basically, by default, you can access your toolkit from anywhere, from any network, from any phone network. So if you're on a mobile phone, you can log in from anywhere, whether it's on your 4G, 5G, or Wi-Fi. What you can do is you can add IP addresses to this list. So if I add an IP address to this list, what that tells the toolkit is that you can only access the toolkit from the IP address. You can add any number of these. So if you had, say you had 6 different offices and they're all dotted around the country, you could add all the IP addresses for those 6 offices for their networks, and then you would only be able to access the toolkit from those office networks. Now, a couple of things to mention here. You have to have a static IP address. So that means that your IP address doesn't change when you connect to your network. If you have a dynamic IP address and it changes every time you reboot your router or every time that you connect to your network, this won't work. Because if you add that there and then you go home and you come back, you connect to the network again, you'll have a different IP address, you won't be able to log in. The other thing is that if you add IP restriction, you cannot use the mobile access unless you are on the work network. So it's a great tool, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind if you use this. Now, the other thing that we have on the left-hand side here is the low security login using TLS 1.1 or below. So this is something that I'll cover a little later when we take a look at the security statement. But basically, it's a security level for a browser, and if somebody has 1.1 or below, their details will be flagged up here. But all you really need to know about that is that if somebody has that and they're flagged up here, they need to update their browser. They're using a very old or outdated browser, and it's quite easy to update. Just go into your settings and update it. Stuff like browsers like Chrome will prompt you when there's an update. Just update that, and it will update the TLS level as well. Now, what good is having all of this security management if you can't monitor it as well? So let's take a look at the audit trail. Now, unlike the other audit trails in the system that are found within management or in the various modules, again, the Security Center audit trail is only found in the Security Center because you can only access this if you are a controller. You can see a full history of any security related changes. If you want to see a longer list, you can expand the list out. If you want to, because there's a data table, you can filter on specific actions that have happened. So if there is a user suspended, if they get their password wrong several times, if somebody's security questions have been reset, or if you've reset an employee account to not challenge security questions but reset answer instead, or if you manually retrieve passwords, anything like that, basically. You can also see who the manager is, who the user is, so who that action was performed on behalf of, and then who actually made those changes. And then at the bottom, we got a security login throttle log. So if you have somebody that gets their password wrong, the system will lock you out for a number of seconds. If you get it wrong again in quick succession, it locks you out for slightly longer amounts of time, and it will build this up until it gets to, I think, about 5 minutes. If you have the unfortunate case where somebody's computer was hacked, or their internet connection was piggybacked, something like that, and there was a bot that was trying to access their account, they would be flagged up here. And once a person gets their password wrong 5 times, they're locked out of the system and they have to be reset by controllers. And if there is then a continual attempt to access their account, so if they're still trying to log in and getting their password wrong, then you as a controller get a notification about that. And eventually, if it continues, then the toolkit gets locked and we have to unlock that for you. But if people continually get their IP address, their passwords wrong here, you will get a notification. You get this log of who has got those wrong. So that really is the Security Center. It's short and sweet. It's easy to find stuff. Everything's laid out quite simply. What we'll do is we'll take a quick look into the other things that I mentioned. So we'll look at some of the privacy, the security statement, and also the status page. So, of course, when GDPR came in a couple of years ago, well, it's a couple of years now, we updated a lot of our policies, as everybody else did. We updated the toolkit. There's a few other things that you can do in the system. But what we've done is we've published our policies. So we have a GDPR compliance statement here, but then we also have all of the policies that we publish. So we got our GDPR policy, privacy policies, details of our license agreement. So that's what the controller agrees to on behalf of the company when they first log into the toolkit, the user guidance, and then our processes, because GDPR says that we have to be clear about these, so we tell you about our processes. Now, the other thing is the Security Home Center. So we've got an area that is just dedicated to security. So if you ever want to find anything out about security within the system, all you have to do is go to the website. If you scroll to the bottom of the page, in the resources area, you've got the Security Home. You've also got the Privacy Home. You can see our cookie policy, our general privacy policy. But if you click the Security Home, that will take you to this area. And what you've got here, you've got the security statement, which we're going to go into in just a moment. You've got an overview of the Security Center. So if there's anything that I mentioned here that you didn't get, alongside us sending you a link to the recording, you can actually have a little look here. You've got a guide to the Security Center and enhanced security guide. temporary restrictions overview. So again, you can read into that, a little more information there, and then other details like strong passwords and also further reading. What we'll do is we're just going to take a quick look at the security statement. So the first thing is that we have an ISO 27001 accreditation. So what that means is that without any of the enhanced tools, we already meet an internationally recognized standard for data security and for our security within our system, and also this also is within our office as well. So you know that your data is secure here. We've got our service status, which we'll take a look at in a moment. It's a status page telling you whether the toolkit is actually working or not. Details of our hosting. So we host with the Google Cloud Platform. We use their data center in Belgium. All the data is stored there. They do take hourly backups, and they save those on a rolling 30-day basis. We also take an hourly backup. We encrypt that, and then we send it to a server in the UK, where that is also kept on a 30-day rolling basis. Of course, GCP are also ISO 27001 compliant. We've got the details of the encryption levels that we use. So we explain here about the highest level encryption that we use, but this is also dependent on your browser settings. It also dependent on the TLS settings that you have, or what level TLS. So there's a little more information that you can read about this. A bit more information. We go in this box about browser support, the TLS. So I encourage you to have a little read into that. But if you have an up-to-date browser, then there shouldn't be any issues there. You shouldn't have to worry about that. Vulnerability detection. So we are audited by Netcraft on a weekly basis. They update their website with the findings of the report for that, and you can go, anybody can go, you can click on this link here, you can go to their website and you can see what their report says. So this is basically any vulnerabilities within our security of the system. There's also details about how we stop DDoS attacks and brute force attacks. So I mentioned about the login throttle log. That relates to this here. So if the toolkit is under attack, if somebody's trying to log in multiple times as a bot or something like that, this is all flagged up, and little information about that here. We've got our disaster recovery backup. So I mentioned about GCP and ourselves, we take an hourly backup. These are just a disaster recovery. So it's not a backup that you would be able to request and say you deleted a holiday by accident or you deleted a document. You wouldn't be able to request this backup and then pull that back off the system. This is basically for complete recovery if there was a complete disaster. And there's also a detail about how customer data is classified, handled, and stored. Of course, this is all part of GDPR. We have to be open and clear about what we do with your data, how we store it, how we class that. You got the details of the security center, some more details about support. So you may well know about raising support tickets, and you can do that by clicking on this link here. You can click on the support link within the toolkit. It takes you to our Zendesk center where you can raise a support ticket. And then, of course, details about data protection, which includes details of our privacy and data GDPR policies here. And then we have the status page. So the last thing we're going to have a look at. So basically, this shows you the current status of any of our systems. So you've got the main web app, so the main toolkit that you log into. You can see the mobile access as well, so the holiday module and the employee directory. Our API, so if you use the API, you'll be able to see here whether that is online, and then also our sales website. This is updated whenever there is an outage to the system. You can currently see that for this year, our main web app has a 99.97% uptime, which is pretty high. Okay, so That is the security center.